Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. In this episode of Ignition Time, I'm going to reveal the 40-year-old truth behind the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. There have been a lot of concerns from the Republicans, from the Republican Senator Rick Scott, from the Republican Senator Rand Paul, and also from the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, as well as the number 2 Republican in the US Senate, John Thune. Basically, all the Republicans have said that this is a liberal wish list. This is essentially a left-wing agenda, and they've called this an expansion of the social safety net that is going to cause a lot of problems in our country. I'm going to educate our viewers and subscribers about something that has been going on in the United States for a very, very long time, which is basically the social safety net, and help you understand that the American Rescue Plan does indeed expand the social safety net, but the social safety net has always been there all along. What the American Rescue Plan does is simply, bam, take things up a notch. It simply expands the entire social safety net. Now, one of the ways President Biden wants to pay for all of these trillions of dollars that has been injected into our economy, which is expected to help our economy boom, is by raising taxes on households making more than $400,000. Now, I'm going to show you a rather interesting clip of an interview featuring Chuck Grassley, the senior Republican senator, and he actually referred to households making $400,000 as middle-income individuals. Yes, you have to see this to believe it. I don't think any of us believe that a household making $400,000 a year is considered middle income. It doesn't matter whether you live in Manhattan, whether you live in Los Angeles, or whether you live in Miami. $400,000 is a good deal of money. Let's roll the tape and hear from Senator Chuck Grassley as he refers to individuals in households making up to $400,000 as middle-income individuals. You have to see this to believe it. Let's roll the tape.
So then what if we go the exact opposite way? We know taxes were promised and elections have consequences, but I don't think anyone thought that the President Biden was talking about a household making $400,000. I always tell people, Senator, be careful when you pick up your torch and your pitchforks. Sooner or later, you might end up in front of your own house.
The middle-income people of this country are smart enough to know that when they hear a politician or even the President of the United States say that only high-income people, the very wealthiest, are going to pay the tax, they know better. If you go there, you're going to eventually end up paying taxing middle-income people.
Yes, that did indeed happen. In the meantime, brand new comments from the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell about a very rosy economic picture. Here's a tweet on your screen from Heather Long from the Washington Post. Summary of the comments from Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. 2021 is likely to be the best year for the US economy since 1980. There's going to be a surge of spending now that people are starting to get the $1,400 stimulus checks. There's going to be a surge of spending because of the $300 a week unemployment booster and because of all the other benefits associated with the American Rescue Plan, including the health insurance subsidies. The Federal Reserve is not in a hurry to raise interest rates, which means that interest rates are going to stay low, which means that it's going to be cheaper to borrow money, which means that home prices and potentially the stock market is going to continue to go up, which is extremely interesting. The Federal Reserve is not concerned about inflation. They think that there could be a surge in inflation in the next couple of months, but any increase in inflation is likely to be just temporary. This is excellent news for the US economy, and this shows that we are on a path to get back to life prior to the pandemic, potentially even an economic recovery that exceeded life before the pandemic because of all this massive support from the federal government. In fact, the entire outlook from the Federal Reserve is much more rosy compared to a few months ago. Let's show you this article on your screen from the Washington Post. The US unemployment rate will fall to 4.5% this year. Now, this is great news because prior to the pandemic, prior to March 2020, the unemployment rate was right around 3%. So to get back to 4.5% when the unemployment rate went well above 10% is excellent. Inflation will rise, but only for a short period of time. The latest economic projections from the Federal Reserve paint a much more rosier picture compared to a few months ago. In the meantime, a very interesting article from the Wall Street Journal, and you'll see it on your screen. Biden's $1.9 trillion relief plan is much more of the same. The new law further expands, the new law meaning the American Rescue Plan further expands the safety net that has been growing for decades. In fact, it's been growing for well over 40 years. In fact, let's take a look at this interesting graph from the Wall Street Journal. We'll provide you with a link to this article and all of our resources in the description section below. Here's the ever-expanding safety net going back all the way to 1970, well over 50 years ago. You'll see the unemployment insurance distribution, health-related, in other words, contribution towards Medicare, and all other income security, including Social Security. And as we move from the 1970s to today, you'll see the different colors, which again correspond to unemployment insurance, health-related, meaning Medicare and Social Security. You see that the contribution has been steadily increasing and has now substantially gone up as a direct result of the American Rescue Plan. So these programs have always been there. And in fact, if you take a closer look at this chart, you'll see that these programs, which essentially were about 3% of the gross domestic product, now are assuming a much higher share of the spending. In other words, the spending on these programs has always been there, but it's now steadily going up in recent times. Now, this is where things get even more interesting. In fact, the chart I'm about to tell you speaks volumes. This chart is the average tax rate by income percentile. Let's start with the top 1%. You see that the top 1%, starting in the 1980s, saw a huge reduction in their taxes, and then the taxes went up, and then they came down, and then they went back up again, and then they started to go down under former President Trump. Now let's take a look at the lowest 20%. You see that the lowest 20%, their taxes were higher and have in general come down over time. But take a look at the most interesting trend, the middle 60%, and essentially the next 19% after the top 20%. And you see their taxes came down and then have started to go up recently. What this means is that middle income America has been funding the US government. A majority of the revenue of the US government comes from income taxes from citizens like you and me. A majority of the money that the federal government earns and keeps and spends comes from middle income taxpayers. And you can see the two blue colors right in the middle of this chart on your screen. And as we move from left to right, you see that the tax rates went down and then started to come back up. But for the other two categories, the top 1% and the bottom 20%, the tax rates have essentially been going down, down, and down. But again, for the middle 60% and the next 19% after the top 1%, tax rates have been steadily going up, which means that the richest continue to get richer. The poorest are not paying as much tax as the middle income earners, which makes sense. But the middle income earners are the ones who are doing all the heavy lifting as far as the income for the federal government is concerned, way more than the top 1%, which really is the focus now of the Biden administration. Here's an interesting quote from the Wall Street Journal article, and as always, again, you'll get a link to the article in the description section below. The American Rescue Plan is many things, but a paradigm shift it is not. First of all, 2/3 of its costs are one-off emergency programs like stimulus checks, public health funding, emergency unemployment health insurance, and state and local support. Except for the last one, all of which, except for state and local support, all the previous components were already in the bills that former President Trump signed, which, by the way, makes it ironic that a lot of Republicans would say, oh, only 9% of the bill goes towards the pandemic. So that's essentially a political talking point meant to confuse people and meant to agitate people against the American Rescue Plan. But the Wall Street Journal also says, yes, President Biden hopes to make some provisions permanent, such as boosting the child tax credit to as much as $3,600 per child and expanding the earned income tax credit, EITC, for childless adults. But they represent 6% of the price tag. The Wall Street Journal also continues. Second, those safety net expansions don't reverse the trends of the last 40 years. They amplify them in that time, meaning over the past 40 years. And by the way, you saw the charts earlier in this video. In that time, no major safety net program was abolished or even substantially narrowed, although the use of welfare did decline after work requirements were added in 1996. So what is the bottom line? The bottom line is that the US has always had these kinds of programs. They've just been dialed up a notch or several notches under the Biden administration with the American Rescue Plan. At some point, we're going to have to pay for all of this. But the focus of this video was to help our viewers and subscribers understand that this is not a sudden expansion of a safety net that didn't exist before. This is simply the amplification of a safety net that existed in the past and that now is needed more than ever before by millions of our fellow Americans. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda. Thank you for watching this episode of Ignition Time. If you learned something new, please click the like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications. I would really appreciate that. That really helps out the YouTube algorithm. That would mean a lot to me personally. Thank you so much for watching. Again, please click the like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.